Americans are not winning their battle against obesity.
People in more states are larger than ever.
We're spending $150 billion a year treating obesity.
Experts say this is an alarming trend. Obesity rates are up again.
Why more Americans than ever need to take their health seriously.
Back with a single patty and no middle bun.
America has been one of the most unhealthy, overweight, and over-medicated countries in the world for a while now. With no signs of change, obesity rates continue to climb year after year. But is there any hope? Are there changes that USA can make, no matter how small, that can send Americans on a trajectory toward better health and a better life? Or is it too late? Will we be forced to sit back and watch as this deadly trend continues? Let's go over some of the topics I believe that have contributed to this crisis, along with some thoughts on areas where improvement could help get Americans fit, healthy, and live better quality lives.
In every school, in every state, after all, you can't teach a hungry child.
Here are some examples of foods being served to school children in other parts of the world. Now here's a pretty standard school meal in the US. Notice the difference? Why is America severely lagging behind when it comes to what is being fed at school? Well, it can pretty much be boiled down to money, specifically when the government allowed corporations to begin feeding its children. In 1970, schools began struggling to continue providing meals with the current system that was in place. Big food companies, seeing a window of opportunity, jumped in and lobbied for schools to serve the food they had since it was already prepackaged, convenient, and required minimal prep work. The system that was established looked something like this. Food and beverage companies contribute money for political campaigns, which then gives them power to influence food policy and what gets published in the dietary guidelines set by the USDA. Basically, the organization that sets the nutritional standard and comes up with the lunches is also funded by companies that are trying to profit, causing a clear potential for bias and conflict of interest. By 1979, nutritional standards for school lunch items were loosened to the point where a USDA official was quoted, "If a candy bar has a minimum 1 nut in it, we feel it is above our minimum nutrient standards." With child obesity having tripled since the 1970s, in 2010, Michelle Obama led the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act, which sought changes such as including more whole wheat, more vitamin-fortified foods, and so on. A term coined scientific nutrition came into play where companies would make slightly altered versions of their products to fall into line with new guidelines, such as adding more vitamin C to their fruit-flavored candy, which often counted as a fruit, and even a push to make ketchup and the sauce found in Domino's supplied pizza count as a child's serving of vegetables. In short, companies quickly mastered the art of checking the boxes on certain nutrients to continue getting their products to school cafeterias and the mouths of children. Speaking of Domino's, there's a popular program where the more pizza gets bought by schools, the more reward points the school can get, which can then be traded in for new kitchen equipment and even merchandise. Sure hope schools are choosing more kitchenware so they don't have to keep serving so much Domino's. Let's now take a look at a typical Japanese elementary school and see how they handle school lunch. In Japan, children have an active role in every stage of the school meal. The philosophy of what makes up a healthy meal is also very different from the US.
学校給食の中の給食の役割、目的についてですが、まず健康な体づくりのために食が大事であるということを子どもたちが学ぶ大切な場であると思っています。
Students are ingrained with respect for where their food comes from.
2年生が農業のうちの農園に職場体験で今日来てます。で、明日給食で枝豆ご飯を食べるので、そのための今準備をやってます。
Each child also gets a menu of what they will be eating for the month, with each meal requiring a healthy range of calories and protein, fat, and carbohydrate ratios. By implementing a similar system, Americans from a young age would not only know what constitutes a healthy meal, but how to make those meals themselves. Americans tend to like things fast, simple, cheap, and most of all, convenient. These conveniences make life easier and objectively better in many ways than the past. But are these conveniences holding a dark secret? One that is costing the health of Americans? For the first time in history, the USA and other developed countries have seen a major shift. Lower income households are now, on average, more overweight than the higher income households, and the gap is widening. To understand why, let's look at life through the eyes of an early 20th century farming family, which made up over 30% of the US population. Almost all your family's needs were met on the farm, from a cistern used to collect rainwater for drinking and baths, to the fruits, vegetables, and meats you worked all day to maintain. These mandatory daily tasks of upkeep kept you moving throughout the day. Even things such as running water was no small feat. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner came directly from the farm with minimal processing. Every ingredient was only a few steps away from your plate. Fortunately, advances in technology means that today, convenience is literally at your fingertips, and a shower is only a twist of the wrist. However, this convenience can come at a cost. A 20th century farmer would be amazed at what can be bought in one place. Potatoes, carrots, chicken, Doritos, Fruity Pebbles, Little Debbie. Wait, what? He would think to himself, not having any idea what these foods were. He picks up a bag of Doritos and tries to find some clues. There are only a few ingredients he can understand, much less pronounce. Bewildered, he has no idea what the steps were to make this product. Processing foods was simple in the farmer's days. Cooking, grinding, and canning to preserve was pretty much all that was available then. Today, 73% of the US food supply is classified as ultra-processed. Ultra-processed is defined as industrially formulated edible substance derived from natural food or synthesized from other organic compounds, designed to be highly profitable, convenient, and hyper-palatable through food additives such as preservatives, colorings, and flavorings. To summarize, food companies making cheap food as tasty as possible with added chemicals to turn a profit. Entire laboratories are hard at work to ensure every bite of your bag of fried corn mush with 20 added chemicals is as pleasing as possible to your palate, with the goal of creating a future customer. These high-calorie, low-nutrient, addicting foods are increasingly available and convenient, from common shopping to the growing reliance on fast foods. Ultra-processed and fast food have many studies finding links on not just increasing the number on the scale, but everything from cognitive decline, depression, stress, and feelings of hopelessness and despair, making it even harder to break the destructive cycle. As life seems to get more fast-paced and streamlined, we have to remember to take the time to pay closer attention to the habits that are shaping our health and quality of life. Plan out meals for the week that the family can choose together, and set aside time to be active for the day. Making the time and perhaps spending a little extra money on healthier food choices now can prevent being forced to later.
The science isn't actually as clear-cut as we like to believe, and there's not really quite a consensus yet about the real relationship between weight and health. Obese people and even morbidly obese people have just as good of health, or sometimes even better health, than people who are in the healthy weight ranges.
Beginning as a radical fat activism that can be traced back to the late 1960s, where it and ethnic minority women groups protested against underrepresentation and discrimination in the fashion and beauty industries, and eventually morphing into the body positivity movement that is growing in America and the world today. Some believe that the corporate brand campaigns and capitalism itself is responsible for its shift in message from one of representation to mainly being centered on the idea of self-love, no matter the shape. However, I believe that the real culprit is actually hidden in human psychology, and also what makes this movement so dangerous. But first, remember the lady you heard talking earlier? She goes by Dr. Kat Pausé, a well-known fat activist who uses online outlets to promote fat acceptance in society and teach her background in fat studies. Sadly, while doing research on her, I found she passed away recently at the age of 42. This seemed to be common in many of the voices in the body positivity movement. From social media to doctors, authors, podcasters, and teachers, the people who spread the message of fat activism were often dying at shockingly young ages. Their love your body no matter the size, and even outright denying the well-researched consequences of obesity is clearly having an effect on not only their own health, but their followers as well. But for many people it's obvious. Being fit is better in many ways inside and out, and loving yourself is important, but that should not keep you from wanting to change. In fact, it should be the driving force. The real question is, why is this ideology being latched onto? The body positivity movement shields its followers by making its own construct, one that is free of societal pressures by promoting the idea that you can be healthy at any size and condemning anything or anyone that does not align with the message. And here's where the movement manipulates people. Learned helplessness is a psychological phenomenon discovered through a rather cruel experiment involving shocking dogs. The gist is that when a dog is given unavoidable shocks over a period of time, it will eventually stop even trying to avoid the shock, even if it can be avoided in a future setting. The adopted body positivity movement beliefs strips the follower of the desire to change by shaping the current electric shock of your struggles of obesity as being genetic. Fat activist research goes as far as to say intentional weight loss puts the body under significant amounts of chronic stress. Although probably beginning with good intentions, modern-day fat activism has created an echo chamber of distorted health information and finds susceptible people through social media and corporate campaigns. Body positivity is now self-harm disguised as self-love. Break through the algorithm-influenced mainstream media message that is feeding on people's insecurities and know that anyone has the power to make improvements in their health and weight. Racking up little wins by making lifestyle changes such as better sleep hygiene, which alone can be life-changing, giving you more energy and even willpower through the day, and has been proven to help lose weight. Picking up good habits such as morning walks and learning the macronutrients and accurate calorie intake can have a snowball effect in improving mental and physical health by all metrics. America is the most medicated country in the world. While understanding that medicine is important for those with birth defects, handicaps, and other conditions, the majority of prescribed medication is treating the symptoms that come from an unhealthy lifestyle. The pharmaceutical industry has found a new cash cow, with the repeat customers of Americans relying on the drug equivalent of a patch job to live a more normal quality of life. In 2019, obese American adults paid on average $1,861 more per year than those of a normal BMI, with the healthcare system bringing in almost $173 billion from treating the symptoms of being overweight and obese. These figures are likely higher today as obesity rates are steadily increasing. By 2030, 79% of Americans are projected to be classified as overweight. Although healthcare providers will often tell their patients that they should lose weight, there is a pressure to treat the immediate symptoms with meds. Often this is good enough to get back to well enough until the next thing pops up and needs to be dealt with the root cause being masked and not prioritized. The symptoms are just acting as the body's check engine light. The medications are only turning the light off for a while so it doesn't beep. Growing up in the era of late-night infomercials, I'm sure many of you may remember the constant loop of popular diets. Most commercials would start by being surprisingly self-aware, remarking how fad diets seem to be tough, short-term, and restrictive, and following with some before and after pictures of happy customers of this new proposed diet. The results are always incredible, with drastic weight loss in a short time frame. After the testimonials, the secret is revealed. This one simple trick or product will melt the weight off without even trying. Call now to get the body you deserve. Contrary to what is claimed, these diets are often highly restrictive, not sustainable, and even worse, most outright lie about why they actually work. They want you to believe it's their radical approach, meal plans, or branded products when in actuality, they all work the same way. Contained in the protein, fat, and carbohydrates in your food, calories are just units of measurement for energy. Every movement, thought, heartbeat your body produces is fueled by energy like gasoline for your car. When taking in more calories than your body uses, it gets stored as fat in case you need this resource if there is no food. When you use more energy than you take in, your body will begin to use its storage of fat, resulting in weight loss. All fat loss is based on this process. Besides not working for the reasons they claim, fad diets drastically cut the calories consumed per day to get results fast. This is damaging to the body by lowering your resting metabolic rate, reducing muscle mass, and unsustainable long term, leading to regaining of the weight, often at a worse starting point than before, then hopping onto the next diet that looks promising. This cycle of extreme weight loss followed by weight gain, only to go back to dieting, is known as yo-yo or crash dieting. Sadly, often the cycle ends by giving up, and much like taking medications to live a normal life, accepting the shock of being overweight as something that can't be fixed. Slowly tapering off calorie intake in small increments will help to lose weight sustainably. Eating less processed foods will make it easier to eat less, as these options often contain less calories and more nutrients while helping you feel full for longer. And finally, making small changes over time is easier than all at once and beginning extreme cycles. Healthy, maintainable weight loss is slow weight loss, and as the pounds come off, medications can often be reduced or eliminated as well.